So, welcome once again, guys, to Legends of Evil, and as you can see, yeah, it's Friday the 13th, and I decided, you know what, I've been waiting to do this for so long, no better time than the present, right? And today, yes, I am going to be talking about Jason Voorhees in this segment. Now, what can I say about Jason? This is a guy who's probably one of the best-known slashers in the horror movie genre, and probably one of the most recognizable movie characters to date. This is a character who is this bloody silent killer who is nigh indestructible and carries his classic machete. This character started off, interestingly enough, dead. You see, as most of you all know, the first film, Friday the 13th, didn't revolve around Jason, it was around Jason's mother. Jason at the time was dead. Then, second film, he comes back. Of course, we all know the origin of Jason was that he was a badly deformed boy, he wasn't really smart, and when the camp counselors were off having sex, he was pushed into a deep end of the lake, and drowned, hence his mother getting revenge. And then when his mother died, Jason came back for a little bit of revenge, and from then on, spurred by his mother's death and a single drive of bloodlust, Jason proceeded to cut a swath of destruction throughout all of Camp Crystal Lake. This guy is nigh indestructible, and you're probably wondering, how does he keep coming back? Well, interestingly enough, in Freddy vs. Jason, there was a bit of movie continuity that linked both Nightmare on Elm Street and the Evil Dead franchise to Jason. Now, I don't know if this is no longer out of canon. I don't know if this is counted as out of canon anymore, but at the time, Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, which was the big crossover and sequel to Freddy vs. Jason, making it in canon with both the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street films, as well as the Evil Dead films. This film, in the comic, it's stated that the reason why Jason kept coming back was because the Necronomicon had made him a Deadite. Apparently, somewhere down the road, Pamela Voorhees used the Necronomicon to bring him back as a form of Deadite. Yeah, Jason is technically a Deadite. Again, I don't know if this is considered out of canon. It was considered in canon from the comic that is a direct sequel to that film, which is, as we both know, are both sequels in canon to both franchises as well as Evil Dead. It's actually kind of funny because even in Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, in that film we actually see the Necronomicon, and it was always suspected by fans of if the Necronomicon had a hand it was connected to Jason. Guess what? It was. So that's the interesting thing about Jason's backstory is that, yeah, he's technically, if you want to, point fingers, he's technically a Deadite, and I can accept that because how else does he keep coming back? So, Jason, for the first few times around, Jason survived. Jason apparently didn't die and was only stalking around the hills. Eventually, he was killed in Friday the 13th, I believe, Part 4, but then came back in Part 6, Jason Lives, after the New Blood had a totally new character under the mask. From then on, Jason proceeded to cut a swath of just total death and destruction onward from from the rest of the franchises, ranging from not just Camp Crystal Lake, but also New York and even in space, and even taking on, of course, Freddy Krueger and in the comics, Ash. So, this is a character, that has, quite a bloody reputation. If you think about it, really, Jason, out of all the characters in the horror movie genre, I think he has the biggest body count. I remember there was a vid here on YouTube where it counted all the in-death movie deaths that Jason had caused, and I think it ranged all the way up to well over 100. Although it is said in Jason X where he was responsible for over 200 deaths. So when you think about it, Jason, even over Freddy, Leatherface, and Michael, and even Pinhead, Jason has the biggest body count. You guys are probably imagining now Jason sitting atop all of his he's now sitting atop the remains of the corpses he's left behind. It's like in a Game of Thrones style throne of bodies. And I don't blame you, because that actually sounds pretty frickin' awesome. But Jason, as we all know, his power set is his invulnerability and his superhuman strength. Jason, even though it's believed that he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, it is shown that he does have some level of intelligence. He does carry, he is able to, create these grandiose traps to kill his opponents. And it's not just the machete, he's actually a pretty good archer as well. And a few other, he's even, like I've said, incredibly strong. He doesn't need the machete to kill you. He could just grab you by the head and, crush it like a tin can, crush your skull like a tin can. This is he is brutal, he is unstoppable, and nearly unkillable. Again, even when, his body was physically destroyed by a SWAT team in Jason Goes to Hell, his spirit lived on and started to randomly possess people until eventually his soul was put in the ground, which, for a while, that was the end of him. However, from that point when Jason's soul was sent to hell, Freddy, a few years later on, trying to get back into Elm Street, however, the people of Elm Street had covered up all of his murders to make sure as long as no one fears him, he can't come back. So, what did Freddy do? He used Jason as an attack dog to make everyone feel fear and make it think it's him doing all the work. Eventually, Jason kind of caught on, and the two of them had a few bloody fights. This eventually led to Jason and Freddy being blown up and thrown in a crystal lake. However, Jason, of course, survived and kept Freddy's head. However, Freddy himself was inside Jason's head. And again, I'm going by Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. Eventually, Freddy found a way through the Necronomicon to free himself out of Jason's head, and the three of them, the three being Jason, Freddy, and Ash, fought until Freddy was defeated, and Jason was as well, and he was sent to the bottom of the lake. Eventually, it kind of led to Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash 2, Nightmare Warriors, which I don't want to talk about because that one's goddamn ridiculous. Eventually, Jason was found and locked away by the U.S. government, of all people, and from there, he attempted to break out and then got frozen for 1,000 years until eventually he was shot into space. And then that's where we have Jason X, where he lands on a new Earth after becoming Cyber Jason. I'm not calling him Uber Jason, that's just ridiculous. But from there, he continued on his bloody rampage. So, as horror movie characters go, Jason really kind of takes the cake. When you think about it, Jason was one of the few forerunners, along with Michael and even Norman Bates from Psycho, that started the whole slasher genre. He was one of the big helps in, the big kick in the door into it. Well, that franchise. I should say his mother helped more than he did. And when you think about it, Jason is kind of like a, superpowered Norman Bates, where he quintessentially, all he does is kill for his mother and still has visions of her. So when you think about it, yeah, he has a lot in common with Norman Bates. Oh, man. But anyway, I digress. This character is memorable for so many reasons. Bloody, dangerous, and nigh indestructible. What more can you say about Jason? And with CW supposedly creating a Friday the 13th TV series, which I'm still, kind of leery about because it's CW and it's, I'm pretty sure they're not going to do something stupid like give Jason a romance. But I wouldn't put it past them like do a Beauty and the Beast type story. That show's ending this year, so who knows? Maybe they'll try to give someone who loves Jason. Ugh. But who knows? Maybe the CW can make a kick-ass Friday the 13th series and have a cool Jason series. Also, don't make it a prequel. Do not make this show a prequel series. Just give us Jason killing people. Each new season could be a whole new thing of whole new body count. Just saying. But anyway, so there you go, guys. For Friday the 13th, I could think of no better character to spotlight in Legends of Evil. So you guys tell me, what do you guys think of Jason Voorhees as a character? You guys like him? You guys hate him? And yeah, just comment below, let me know. And once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.